The state capitol today. Discussions over the price tag for a new penitentiary near Sioux Falls and a women's prison in Rapid City. Over $250 million from the state general fund and budget reserves and an additional $10 million in federal funds are requested to be placed into the state's incarceration fund. Beth Warden has more on the discussion of Senate Bills 49 and 50 and the many topics taking place today around the Department of Corrections.
The Appropriations Committee reviewed spending for a new men's penitentiary near Sioux Falls and a women's prison in Rapid City. Department of Corrections Secretary Kelly Wasco described the conditions of the current penitentiary in Sioux Falls.
Operational inefficiencies, it doesn't meet contemporary codes and regulations. It's incredibly energy inefficient. We've spent over $30 million on this facility's maintenance and repairs since 2013, and there's another $30 million of maintenance and repairs needs that are in queue now.
She believes more treatment and therapy can benefit those incarcerated.
98% of them have a substance use disorder. What can we do? What are we doing and what can we do better?
And new prisons will free up room for therapy and education.
We have classrooms right now that we're having to use for women to sleep in. So we will get classrooms back.
Former Republican Speaker of the House, Stephen Haugard, described how as an attorney, he has concerns over the rate of reincarceration.
Not tried funding the real means of corrections, which is probation and parole. And right now, staff aren't paid adequately at the penitentiaries to start with.
Eric Olila with the State Employees Association says that even with the new facility, there are still problems with workforce and that employees are ready to provide their insight.
What do you need to do your job better? What can we do to help you do your job better? You're going to get the answers that you need to make these efforts successful.
In Sioux Falls, Beth Warden, Dakota News Now.
The committee deferred action on Senate Bill 49 regarding funding for the men's penitentiary. The Appropriations Committee did approve Senate Bill 50 to fund $23 million using mostly state funds to construct a new women's prison in Rapid City. Senate Bill 50, that will go to the Senate.